Starting a new series, going to play some 5-5 rapid games, and we're starting off with a Sicilian and a Rossolimo. Okay, so already this puts me at a bit of a juncture. I still don't have a defined repertoire against the Rossolimo. I've played all sorts of things, and now I have to decide whether I want to play very aggressively or play a little bit more staid. You know what? For the first game on this series, let's have some fun. I'm going to play g5. This is a Matthew Sadler line that is bad, but interesting. And h3 is a very timid response. Surely he doesn't know this. Yeah, it's a very timid response and a very quick response. Okay, so how can I follow up here? Maybe I should just play knight f6 and offer this pawn again. I think I will do. And if takes, I can play rook g8. Go ahead and pre-move this capture. So the idea is I'm willing to sacrifice the g-pawn to open up the g-file for my rook, and B, if he ever takes on c6, I can recapture the d-pawn and play for the light squares. Now, plays knight c3 quickly. Maybe I should keep advancing with this pawn. g4 takes, or maybe I should play d6 and open up the bishop, proffering this pawn again. He seems reluctant to take it. Or rook g8 it comes into consideration naturally. Maybe if I play d6, he's capturing them, playing d4, opening the position. Not unreasonable. Maybe knight d4 is worth consideration because he can't really take without dropping this pawn, and then the bishop drops back. Seems okay. Actually, this is interesting. Knight d4, bishop drops back, b5, takes, bishop takes, and this pawn hangs. Or knight here, bishop back, b5, knight takes, two of his pieces hang. Knight d4, bishop drops back, b5, takes, bishop takes, knight takes here. The only thing is that it is a little bit slow in terms of development. Okay, in the interest of simplicity, and because this is a rapid game where plus 5 seconds is actually not a terribly long increment, I'm just going to play rook g8 and reassess. Okay, so now he pushes on, which I actually shouldn't have allowed. Okay, you know what? I'm going to play g4 and meet his attack with a counterattack of my own. So if takes, I can take with check, and he can't interpose on e2 because my pawn will control that square. And if takes, I'll take with a knight, and then my knight has this kind of nice outpost. I am sacking the h7 pawn. I guess I am hitting d4 there, but he could take on c6. I'll take back the d pawn, take on h7. No, that seems okay. I get expedited development and in a very imbalanced position in return for the pawn. So I'll take a look at this knight d4 line after the game. It just felt a little bit slow developmentally for me, moving the same piece again. So what I need to do now is activate this bishop. Okay, so let's see if he voluntarily cedes his light squares in order to win this pawn. If he takes it straight away, maybe I'm taking on e5 with the c knight. Yeah, that seems fine. Takes, queen e2 or something. Queen c7, or I can move the knight again. Seems fine. He gives me the light squares. Interesting. He really wants that pawn. Okay. So I can win another tempo with bishop f5. There's nowhere I can really activate my queen. So let's play this. Sacks on f2 aren't working. Let's play bishop f5. If he plays this with tempo, I can consider this. I can also consider just a simple e6. I'm kind of happy with this. Like, I realize my pawn structure is shattered, and I'm also down a pawn, but he's now deprived himself of castling right on the king side. I can castle queen side, and I have better development now. It's still going to take him some time to develop his dark square bishop. So I can play something like queen d7, castle's long. Then what am I playing against? So maybe I should be playing bishop g7 first with tempo on the e-pawn. Or, so this is interesting, maybe e6 is worth consideration. e6, something like d3, I can take on e5 because his rook hangs. I do see this square. I have to be careful about a knight coming in. Yeah, I'm actually not sure about that. If bishop g7, d4 takes, knight takes. It's actually not so easy for him to defend this pawn. Okay, let's start with this, because I'm not so sure I want to give up control of the f6 square if I were to play e6. My position seems reasonable. I mean, this is a tricky pawn to defend. Yeah. So now queen c7 is worth consideration. I think this pawn just drops. Can I do anything immediate? I don't think so. If I play e6, I guess he can just move the rook back. Let's start with queen c7, I think, actually. I'm not hanging this knight, am I? Takes. He doesn't have it. I don't think he has any discoveries with this knight presently. Queen c7, d4 takes, knight takes. And he is on the bishop, that's the thing. Interesting. Aha. He wants d4, and he's on the bishop and on the knight, I see. Need to speed up too. Okay. Okay, you know, I am going to play e6 just because I want to make sure I didn't have too many hanging pieces here. If d4, I can take and take on e5 now that this is defended and the rook is hanging. So I recognize that I am weakening some squares, but I think I'm just winning this pawn now. Yeah, it's tricky. Okay, so d4 takes. Oh, what am I saying? He can't take that. So my queen remains trained on d4. So now I am threatening this pawn. Think next. Huh, interesting. So he wants this pawn, but I can take here. I think maybe he doesn't realize that. Ah, I see. So the queen defends. Interesting. But I can take, and I don't think he's able to get away with taking on c5 because the rook hangs then. I'm not sure if he realized that. Okay. So now material is equal, but it remains very complicated, very sharp. So if he takes here, he just hangs the rook. Is there any... I don't think he can move the rook anywhere with tempo. I'm also looking at g2. So what does he want? g3 maybe is worth consideration. Not sure if I want to take on c2. This pawn is weak. Maybe I can consider taking here actually. Takes, check, I take. That square's covered. Takes, takes, takes. King moves, I can take here. I think that's okay. Just making sure I'm missing something. Otherwise I can just give a check. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this. Okay. So I'm winning a couple of pawns out of this. I think I'll activate the queen. Almost have like mating threats with check along this diagonal, but mean, it should be a winning end game. I'll keep it simple and offer the queen exchange. And so here, he's got to be a little bit careful actually. I guess d3, I can just castle long. Maybe I should be giving this check and just asking a question if he wants to block his bishop or put himself in a pretty nasty pen. Okay, maybe. So this is interesting. d4. Let's just play this kind of quickly. If he takes, I'm going to castle and then put him in a really nasty bind. I like the energy of this move. So I think he kind of has to play something like this, and then I can just continue trying to break open the center. Maybe c3, something like, Okay, let's keep playing quickly here. So he's going to play c3, and then I kind of have a target to work with at least. So maybe, yeah, I'm just going to castle now, and now I'm threatening to take here. Bishop here, okay. But now, I don't think I'm missing anything. Yeah, e5. Push I can just take, otherwise I can crash through. Moves a king, maybe I'm taking here, and then taking. I think that's fine actually, because if I do end up exchanging the light square bishop for the knight, I'm left with two dark square bishops and the pawn surplus, which should be winning. I mean, this is just kind of nasty with my two bishops on an open board. Yeah. Do you want something like this? Maybe b5, b3, rook c. Okay, so rook c1 is worth a shot. Maybe I just come back and keep my bishops. Okay. Yeah. A little bit loath to give away the bishop pair, but there's too many pawns. This should be winning. Plus, this is a really nasty passed pawn. Yeah. Wonder if I should be pushing straight away or not. Let's. Not sure, but let's do it. And then my bishop's going to come to f6. Yeah. Okay, so rook c1, b5, b3 I can push. That's the point. Let's see if he plays this. Or maybe... Honestly, can I take here? I think I should. And I will, because I have b3 coming. Yeah. And now it should be over. So I think I can just push on through, right? Takes, check. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this is winning too, but this has got to win. Yeah, okay. So it takes, and that's game. Okay. So let's take a look at that. I think he should have spent a little bit more time considering h3 and what to do against g5, but a lot of people just can even handle these rapid games as if they were blitz games, but they're not. You have some time. Okay. Yeah, so as I said, the opening is just bad. This g5 response to the Rossolimo is not a great move. It gives white +1, +1, 5. You should just be taking this, and then the idea is knight f6, rook g8, and then you sack this pawn for, in some cases, the light squares, and in some cases, just active play along the king side and getting your opponent out of prep. Okay, so h3, that cannot be critical, but I just continue developing. And now here I should have been a little bit more astute, a little bit more aware that now he is kind of threatening positionally e5, because I no longer have these squares to hop to with my knight. Yeah. Rook g8 can't be terrible. But I can't retrieve my knight. I gotta continue with my riposte. Okay, so he attacked my knight. I counterattacked his knight. So I kind of wonder what would happen if we do this exchange. Yeah, taking here is kind of abysmal. Queen takes. I don't think I want to mangle my pawn structure by taking back on f6, but okay. Engine points out that I'm attacking a lot of things with this proudly positioned knight on d4. And I'm in the game with negative 0.2. Okay. So here, e5, e4 is happy with this. So when knight gets this outpost, it can no longer be pushed away with h3, which is always going to be menacing some ideas around white's king. So this, yeah, I think that was probably a mistake taking on. See, because the nature of the position has changed. We're now, I mean, it's now a very sharp position, and the board is opening up, and like you can no longer really play just strictly positionally as you would in the Rossolimo and these bishop takes c6 lines. So I'm normally happy to see this when my light square bishop all of a sudden becomes quite powerful, especially after he gives me the tempo to develop it. Okay, so yeah, here I was considering e6. I just didn't, on strictly positional grounds, I didn't like allowing the weakening of these squares of the knight, potentially coming into e4 and f6 or d6 later. So I thought I'd hold back on that for the time being, but it did leave this bishop kind of dangling. Ended up playing it anyway. Okay, so e6, cementing this. So what was I looking at? This, and then d4. And the problem is, after it takes, knight takes. He's on the bishop, he's on this knight as well. So I have to retreat the bishop or defend it, and that's very ugly if I have to take back on f5 with the pawn. And if I move the bishop, I can just take this, right? Yeah, the two minor pieces for the rook. So didn't want to allow that. So I think e6 was correct. Queen c4, yeah, and then you just miss the fact that my queen is looking at his rook on h4. It's a little bit overloaded here. And then g3 is a little bit sloppy, allows me to sack, and then this is just busted. I mean, I can keep the queens on, play for mate, because his king is so discomfited, but I thought this endgame would be very simple, especially with the time situation. And yeah, I was happy with how I continued to play this energetically. c4, c5, take some castles, and yeah, everything opens up. It's happy with this. Yeah, the rest of this is pretty simple. Okay, so actually there's one more thing I was going to look at. I was going to look at this 94 idea back in the opening. Yeah, okay, I'm curious. So here the idea is he can't take back because then it distracts his knight from the defense of e4. And if bishop here, b5. So let's take a look at this. It's probably not great. Engine points out e5 here is good. And if I take and move the knight, now he takes on g5. Position remains unclear. I mean, the roughly 1 to 1.5 pawn advantage is just standard in this opening anyway. But I was more interested in if he tries to preserve this light square bishop. So the engine does approve more or less of my b5 idea. Yeah, just targeting the fact that this knight is a little bit overloaded. So if he takes, I can take e4, and now I have this lovely long diagonal for the bishop. Something like this, castles. Okay. But rook g8 is not terrible. Just continuing with the plan. Yeah. Okay. Relatively happy with this game as my first rapid game on this channel. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll continue the series.